What's up guys, it's Mr. Vince, and as you probably saw, I got the HyperShift right behind me on the NASCAR, because NASCAR is awesome. And yeah, as promised, I'll finally be showcasing the HyperShift. It has been nearly 2 years since I last made a video on this color. But with that being said, this abomination will be kept within my inventory permanently. So that means I won't be actually trading it, and I'll be able to keep it. So before I do want to continue on, I do want to give a massive shout out to Hello's VG for being able to help me get the HyperShift. I actually waited a while to do this video, so sorry that it took like several weeks. We had to go through a lot, man. I'm so glad to finally get it back. But with that being said, the HyperShift is basically a hyperchrome that has all 8 colors that would shift every few seconds. So I think it takes about 5 seconds to go through the whole rainbow. So it basically combines all 8 of those hyper level 5s into one HyperShift. And in my opinion, the actual body color is alright. I mean, you do see the rainbow effects coming out of your car. But I do love using the HyperShift on both the rims and the spoiler, so that's why I would use it more on the rims and spoiler, not the body. But that's just my opinion. So if I go ahead and head over to the Camaro, you can see I got myself the Hyper Diamond on the newest spoiler called the Voxel spoiler. So I'm going to change that to HyperShift. In the garage, the HyperShift is more like a white color, as you could probably see, which is quite weird. But I think that's how they render the HyperShift in the garage. Probably to save some performance there, but I see why. So the last time I did make the HyperShift video, I'm pretty sure there were still a few issues with it at the time, because some vehicles like the Volt Bike were not able to support the HyperShift properly. But as of today, most vehicles now work with the HyperShift. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn in the Volt 4x4, because I haven't drove this vehicle in a while for a video. But the Volt 4x4 was one of the 2 vehicles that broke with the HyperShift trail and particles, so you can see that, yeah, it works now. So back in the day, the HyperShift trail would be black, but they fixed it in a recent update. So yeah, I want to give props to both Asimo and Bad CC for being able to fix this up now. But you can see that the HyperShift works on the Volt 4A4. I think if they added a separate customization feature for every vehicle, I would definitely use the HyperShift on the Volt 4x4. Not because of like the actual body, you can see the body looks amazing, but it's actually because of the HyperShift trails, and I think they look so good. That also applies to the Volt Bike, so if I go ahead and drive the Volt Bike, you can see the HyperShift trail as well. I'm so glad they actually decided to bring this back. It's been a while since they haven't had it in the game, so yeah, once again, thank you developers for bringing this back. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and use different hyperchromes. I did a video where I showcased the HyperShift on pretty much every vehicle about 2 years ago. But for this video, I'm not really going to do that because I feel like it's going to take up a lot of time. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys a couple level 5s and then just kind of get it out of the way. So the first one is Hyper Red level 5. So Hyper Red level 5 is obtainable from doing the tomb, but every level 5 can be attained from doing the mansion, so I just wanted to throw it out there. But yeah, I would say Hyper Red is among the hardest if you're doing tomb, because you need at least 2 other people with you to do the tomb, and you can't get it first try in your private server, and even then you still need 2 people to do it. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use the torpedo. I actually did get it back in a recent grinding session to get some things back. I was going to get the brick set tires as well, but I couldn't get them, but it was alright. So here is the Hyper Red on the torpedo. I think this will make it a lot easier to showcase a lot of these level 5s. So for the combo, you can kind of use certain red textures. We do have Crimson Racer, Bandana, which honestly works so nicely. We also have Lava. You can make Hyper Lava out of this. Superstar. And then you got a few other red textures like Candy Cane, Dragon Scales, Carbon Fire. Hyper Red is actually pretty cool. I don't think it's that bad, but I'm probably going to avoid using it for a good while. I don't really like red as much as most of the other colors, but it's alright. So next is orange. Now I actually did make a video on Hyper Orange in 2023. Honestly, Hyper Orange is definitely a really good color. Like, as in for the brightness, it is super good. Like, it literally looks like there's lava on your car. I just love how it is. And there are certain textures that work very good with this as well. So lava kind of works with orange. I don't remember which texture I used for that video, but if I actually use fire, the front portion would look better. But there are certain orange textures you can use, like orange pixel. As you can see, we got tiger. Bacon kind of works, I guess. There's peach. I know peach kind of works with this as well, but unfortunately not a lot of vehicle support peach, so that kind of stinks. But yeah, so you can utilize Hyper Orange. It definitely does look really good, in my opinion. It's super awesome. It works super nice with checker for some reason. I think this just looks amazing. Yeah, Hyper Orange is really good. I definitely prefer this over red. To get it, you have to do the museum. I don't know exactly how many times you have to rob the museum from level 1 to 5 to get the level 5 for each robbery, but definitely do mansion as well. It's like a really important robbery to do. It gives you twice the amount of luck for hyperchrome, and so you should definitely do mansion. Alright, so next we have Hyper Yellow. Now, I did a video on Hyper Yellow a few months ago, but Hyper Yellow looks like this. I honestly think it's not as good as Orange. Orange is definitely better. I mean, you could definitely see a huge difference between the two, but yellow actually does work very nicely with certain textures like classic variants as well as the taxi, as you can see, aside from the little checkered stuff on the taxi, but it works. I also used Ogre, which also kind of works with the Hyper Yellow, so it's actually pretty good, but it's alright, I guess. Next is green. To get green, you have to rob the bank. I actually forgot to mention yellow, but basically to get yellow, you can either rob the cargo train or the passenger train. They both share the same pity, so I just wanted to throw it out there. So here's Hyper Green. It also works with Ogre. I made another video on this Hyperchrome as well, so I made it back in June. I actually talked about it and stuff. Here's Camo Radar with it. Mostly works with camo textures because they're mostly green. Here's Field. Field is a really underrated texture in my opinion, but unfortunately doesn't work with many newer vehicles. Here's Watermelon. Nuclear Waste has some green, but it's not entirely green. Unfortunately, the Torpedo does not support camo. It's broken, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, so here's the Comic Convict, which was a recent texture that was added. It's kind of green, but not really. But yeah, I also say that Drip works with a lot of these Hyper Level 5s as well. Here is my favorite one of them all, Diamond. Diamond, in my opinion, is the best level 5. It's also the most valuable. To get it, you have to rob the Joy Store. They did fix up the gem glitch where you could get more pity by just robbing gems, so you can't do that anymore. But honestly, for Diamond, definitely use Diamond or Ice. You know, Diamond. But these two textures single-handedly make this the best level 5 to use. I love blue. This color definitely works very nicely with these two textures. So if you use them, there you go. There's also patchy jeans that you can use, speed, wavy, blue pixel, lightning, got earth, with some green on it, but it's fine. There's golf, circuits, galactic carbon, which also works very nicely with this hyperchrome. We also got aquatic, snowstorm. There's so many blue textures that you can use with this. It's just insane. I even used black ice at some point in time when it had this level 5. So it's just crazy that this hyperchrome works very well with a lot of textures. That's why this hyperchrome is super good. If you like blue, this is probably your best bet. It's amazing. I love this hyperchrome. It's just awesome. Then we have Hyper Blue level 5, which is this one right here. Now you might have noticed that I didn't actually have any other level aside from level 5, and that's actually because I traded the other hyperchromes away so that I can only show you guys the level 5s for the sake of this video. But yeah, you can see this is Hyper Blue with Galactic Carbon. This is probably the best texture for Hyper Blue. Hyper Blue is actually a pretty cool color. I believe it's currently the second most valuable hyperchrome in the game, only being by Hyper Diamond, so it's quite valuable. To get this hyperchrome, you actually have to rob the cargo plane, which is, in my opinion, a little bit more difficult than the jewelry store, because the cargo plane does not wait for you every time. It literally runs so fast, like a NASCAR. You have to get there in time, or else you're going to miss it. So that's why the cargo plane is really hard to rob it, if you're not careful. Also, cops can camp the cargo plane, so it does make it quite difficult to get. But yeah, there are several other blue textures that work with this as well. But unlike Hyper Diamond, it is a little bit darker, so most of them don't really work that nicely. But some do, like Blue Pixel, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, so you can see with Diamond or Ice, yeah, Hyper Blue just doesn't look that good, in my opinion. But Lightning does work pretty nicely as well, so there you go. Galactic Carbon for sure. I will definitely use this. I think the only caveat is that Galactic Carbon is quite rare, so you can't easily find people with it. But now we have Hyper Purple. So I actually used Hyper Purple, and honestly, this is a really sick color. To get it, you have to rob the power plant. And yeah, the power plant is also pretty easy. Power plant is right here. And when it opens, you can rob it. You have to grab the uranium from robbing puzzles. And then be careful not to die in there, because there are some obstacles you have to avoid. Especially that big beam that you have to crawl under. But otherwise, you can actually quickly get to the volcano base and rob the power plant. So there aren't too many purple textures that you can use, but the best ones, in my opinion, are Retro Wave, as you can see. It is also dark, so I'm going to set this to 12. We also have Galaxy. So Galaxy is this one right here. And wow, it actually looks super good. I mean, it definitely looks good. Don't blame me. There's also Deep Purple Flame, which was a recent texture that was added. I believe it was added in 2023. Again, we have a texture that doesn't work, which is Galaxy Wave. Torpedo just doesn't support it for some reason. Yeah, these textures are broken. But yeah, lots of these textures don't really work with purple, but there are some that definitely work very nicely, especially the Galaxy ones. Yeah, I think it just looks good. Hyper Purple is definitely among my favorite Hyper Level 5s. It's just so good, even though it's also not as valuable as a lot of the other ones. But then the last one is Pink. So Pink is the final one of the 8, and Pink is obtained from robbing the Crown Jewel, which is this robbery right here. And the Crown Jewel is also pretty difficult to rob, but unlike the cargo plane, you do have as much time as you need to rob the Crown Jewel in the robber group that it is associated in. So it's definitely possible, but you do have to kind of spend some time to get the level 5. I actually did originally grind for the Hyper Pink level 5, but I didn't tell you guys this yet, but I actually traded the level 4 for my Hyper Diamond level 5. So you can see this trade right here. I actually did that trade a few weeks ago. So yeah. But for Pink, just like Purple, there aren't too many textures that work best for Pink. But Checker definitely does work nicely. There's also Swirl, which actually works pretty good. There's also Donut. I mean, it doesn't look that good. I'll definitely prefer Swirl. Yeah, because of the blending. There's also Berlin Graffiti. Some of the vehicles definitely look better with Berlin Graffiti. So the Torpedo is mostly like a combo between a little bit of blue, there's some pink on it. But it definitely looks pretty good on the Torpedo. But there are some other vehicles that make Berlin Graffiti pink as well. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so those are all the level 5s. So there you go. What kind of level 5 do you guys like? Please feel free to let me know. For a HyperShift, I would say don't use a color because some of the colors don't blend in very good. I would use like a black or white texture because that way it makes HyperShift better. So I'm using Armor, which is a very underrated texture in my opinion. And you can see that it does look pretty good. So VG did use Lines, which is this texture right here. By the time I'm making this video, which is Monday the 3rd of March, Lines is actually discounted. So make sure you buy this because it is discounted. But yeah, you can see that if I use two-sided, it looks pretty good. Definitely use a black texture. White kind of works too, but black definitely looks better. But yeah. Now, some things I do want to consider is that the HyperShift does not always work on everything. So if you try to use the HyperShift on something like headlight color, you can see that it literally turns into a black. So if I go ahead and compare this to black, it's basically the same. You don't get a free Vanta black out of this, although that would be epic. You know. But yeah, so it doesn't work with everything. Window, you can see doesn't work. Again, just doesn't have that Vanta black effect. Again, that would be sick. But that's because the HyperShift relies on using a black color to make it look better. And so it can't be just a Vanta black. Otherwise, people can make it a free Vanta black. So I kind of see why. The HyperShift does work on rims and spoilers, as I did show you guys earlier. So that's actually kind of cool. But unfortunately, it doesn't work for many other things like glow. As you can see, it just makes your glow black. It also does not work with the interior, so if I go ahead and spawn in the Roadster and I go ahead and go over to interior main, you can see that HyperShift actually makes the interior black. Or is that white? I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. Is it supposed to be black? I don't know, it's more like a lighter grayish color, I guess. I don't know. HyperShift just doesn't work well compared to these little 5s here. And that's because the rainbow effect just isn't utilized with some of these car parts. So I just wanted to throw it out there. But all things considered, I'm just so happy to finally show you guys the HyperShift once again. I feel like this is definitely a really cool color. Here is actually the customization I did make when I got the HyperShift, which does use the RTX tire, which is a brand new tire that was added this update. The RTX rims, which were obtainable from Season 5, and then the lines, texture, the HyperShift, yada yada yada. So, in my opinion, the HyperShift is amazing if you use it on like rims and spoilers. Otherwise, I think the body portion of the HyperShift is pretty good, but it's okay. I mean, I love the trails. It definitely works really nicely with the Volt and the Volt 4x4. But it doesn't really work that nicely on other vehicles, unless if you really like the rainbow, then I guess it's alright. I would definitely use like any other level 5 for the body, but that's just me. So yeah, please feel free to let me know what you guys think. I did spend some time making this video, so yeah, it was like 17 minutes when I actually recorded this. So yeah, it did take some time to get this video done and all that. Here was the trade that I did with Vici. I actually traded away the pickup truck. So that kind of sucks. Luckily, I did get another pickup truck, so it's all good. And just for the memes, I'm going to show you guys the HyperShift with the pickup truck. Would you look at that? Yeah, the biggest meme of them all. That's kind of sick. That's kind of sick, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. My name is Mr. Vince, and I'll see you guys in the next video.